2018, the Board of Park Commissioners of the Lake Bluff Park District, Lake County, Illinois. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Earhart,
Absent prior notice.
Commissioner Gordon,
Here.
Commissioner McHenry,
Here.
Commissioner Mossbarger,
Absent prior notice.
Commissioner Patera,
Here.
Commissioner Wallace,
Should be there.
Hopefully on the way.
and President Douglas.
Here. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner McHenry,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera,
Yes.
President Douglas.
Yes. Okay, before we move on to the statement of visitors, I'd just like to make a quick statement here. Wrote it down so I could be sure I cover everything that needs to be done. Before visitors make statements, and on behalf of the board, I'd like to make these following statements here. The board has received lease responses, and we will be spending several months in executive session evaluating these proposals. As stated, this is one of the 4 focus areas that we determined at the end of the March meeting when we had our 2 public meetings in February, March, and then 4 initiatives. So this is one of them. Please be patient, as the board and Ron will be unable to provide any details until an exhaustive evaluation of this will take a couple of months. We would like to remind the community that the fundraising for the operations, not losses, and/or capital. In a recent newsletter, operations were not included. And we want to make sure the public is aware that donations will go to operations and/or capital. And third, all board members agree to the golf marathon with the entry fee of $35 with no more than 12 players. In terms of the survey, first and foremost, the board would like to thank John and David Tech for offering to provide a survey for free. We truly value surveys and the expertise of our residents. Several members expressed that the timing was not right. Therefore, the board members asked Ron to call each board member. All board members agreed individually and stated to Ron the timing is not right for the golf survey, and the board members were very open to the idea after some of these key priorities are determined. In addition, due to the influx and/or uncertainty of the golf club, the board is focused on the 4 core key areas from the March public meeting, and that is the primary focus for the board. Therefore, the board will not be pursuing a golf survey at this time, and we will continue evaluating fundraising results and other core focus areas being evaluated. We appreciate the efforts, and we ask the Lake Bluff Community Golf Association to continue focusing on fundraising. So, with that, we can move on to statement of visitors for non-agenda items. And anybody would like to speak?
Hi, I'm Lynn Asmussen, Lindbergh East North. As just mentioned, I was informed by email on June 8th that the golf survey was turned down by the board by individual phone calls. I'm here today to ask that this be discussed during a public meeting for us to better understand the reasoning of why we turned this down. This market research to better understand our local golf market and customers valued at $15,000. One of the reasons I got involved in this effort to save the Lake Bluff Golf Course as a non-golfer is the overwhelming expertise, industry knowledge, passion of the Lake Bluff residents, and concluded that the community working with the Park District can solve this. This market research offer is one of those pieces of expertise we're fortunate to have in our own community. The board has had access to the survey for several months, starting with an April 11th meeting. We were told that we would be informed of questions that may require discussions. That meeting was canceled and a decision was made without discussion amongst the board or in a public forum. The public deserves to hear discussion around and between board members, have the board understand the public perspective and vote on record for the decline of this survey. I don't know the state's open meeting act requirements, but want to make sure the board is acting accordingly. Here are the reasons to consider using utilizing this resource now. This is not just a survey to find out Lake Bluff Golf Club if they're doing a good job. It's industry-specific market research, quantitative and qualitative, to better understand current local market and customers, what we're missing that's going on in the market, like we missed the Highland Park closures, what other opportunities might be around to raise revenue and operations, and much more. It's executed by a simple email link through opt-ins through the ECG system. In addition, some board members have publicly said that they're doing everything they can to keep the golf course open and not kick it down the road anymore. Declining this offer is not in line with those sentiments. The public wants to help, but wants action to show that efforts are being made and the public is being heard. Utilizing this market research opportunity shows good faith effort that you're not just waiting and watching. So why wait? If you wait until 2019, you have to wait until at least mid-May so that many golfers can get back out and golf. You wouldn't get back input until at least the end of June and receive input until, or analysis until July. That's over a year from now, when we can have actionable information and data to help inform crucial decisions in August or September of this year. Even if we have a successful VC in this RFP process, this data would help to make that endeavor even more successful, which is ultimately what we want here, a golf course that with tax dollars and donation investments gives our community the best it can, while coming close to breaking even in operations and capital needs. Upcoming decisions regarding the golf course affects people in Lake Bluff and beyond, people of all ages, backgrounds, golfers, non-golfers, 3 school programs, property values, and more. So I'm asking you to move forward and plan for the future, be proactive in this case, and discuss publicly your reasons for not deploying this assessment and vote publicly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
I'm Bob Lovenheim, 501 East North Avenue. I understand this is not a discussion forum. I respect that. So I'm going to make a couple of assumptions in the following statement. And it's kind of appropriate that I believe you have your accounting firm represented and your attorney represented. If I understand correctly, the one note obligation assigned specifically to the golf course is not a GO obligation, general obligation, with the full faith and credit of the district. It's aimed specifically at the revenues from the golf course to repay the obligation. I'm making that assumption in the absence of seeing the current audit. If that's the case, then if you close the golf course, you have shut down the source of repayment per the terms of the loan document. I have not seen it. You might want to consider having your counsel look at the loan document to see if shutting the golf course would in fact be a potential event of default that could lead to acceleration of the debt. That I say could lead to, because it's probably not in there as an automatic acceleration, but would give the bondholder, the note holder, the opportunity. So I would suggest maybe you could ramp that into your thinking over time. And the last thing, several meetings ago, I brought up there was a source at the Illinois Association of Park Districts that had to do with grants, and was told with smiles that we're aware of that website. Kind of follow up in the same vein that Colette has. Have you taken any actions to research any grants or opportunities based on that website? It's great that you know it, but not utilizing it as a potential source to help your 4 core goals doesn't seem consistent with doing everything you can to keep the golf course open. So one is free advice about checking the loan document. I'm an old retired banker. I lived on those things, so it might be worth checking. The last thing you need is to have the bondholder accelerate the debt.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Statements? Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Let's move on to the next item. That's approval of the meeting minutes of May 21st, 2018, of the regular board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved. So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion. Bob made the motion, Franz did the second. So may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner McHenry,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera,
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace.
Yes.
President Douglas.
Yes. Moving on to the consent agenda, may I have a motion to accept the June 1st and June 18th, 2018 payables?
So moved. Second.
Oh, echo chamber there.
Gordon, McHenry.
And may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner McHenry,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera,
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace.
Yes.
President Douglas.
Yes.
I do have a question. This comes from Chris. He was not able to attend tonight, but he did notice on page 14 an NSSRA payment, check payment, in the amount $42,746. And his question was what our obligations were with respect to future payments.
That is our member contribution and our capital contribution to the association. So we are a member of NSSRA. And so there are articles of agreement. We need to provide some source of ADA assistance. And so one way is to levy to be a member of an SRA. It's the best way to do it. And the obligation is pretty significant. We'd have to give significant notice. And then we would have to take on some staffing here to take on all ADA related matters. So any inclusions of some sort where we have an overwhelming amount of inclusions this summer, more than we've ever had. So people with disabilities, children with autism, Down syndrome, you name it. And so they provide staffing for us. Otherwise, we would be responsible for all of that. So
And is there an end date, or is this a contract, is this
it's
a
a
membership that renews
Yeah,
annually?
there's 13, it doesn't renew annually, it's
No.
13 partners. So 13 agencies, whether it goes from all the way to Wilmette, we're the furthest north. And so we all contribute based on the size of our population, our EAD, everybody's different. We're one of the lower ones compared to most districts.
They're all park districts.
Uh,
Or is there some other agencies?
Riverwoods, Kenilworth, Highwood. Yeah,
They
so
are
those-
park districts exclusively, no other.
Six.
Okay.
That is correct.
I see.
So from what I'm hearing, it sounds like this is a benefit
No,
to
it's
the park
absolutely
district.
significant.
Because
It cost us a lot more.
Yeah, we're pooling resources
Yes.
with these other districts
Okay.
to provide all these needs. Staffing-wise, it would be a colossal expense on our
Yeah.
Oh,
And
thank
there's
you.
significant penalties for getting out of it. It was established.
He wasn't aware, I wasn't aware, so
Yeah.
we thought we'd
Yeah,
ask.
it's been a 30-year partnership of
Okay.
some sort.
Thank you.
But good to know.
Right. Thank you for the
You're welcome, that's good.
So, let's see, we did the motion to accept, we need now a
Right.
motion to approve the June 1st and June 18th, 2018 payables.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner McHenry,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera,
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace.
Yes.
President Douglas.
Yes. Okay, moving on to finance. First, 2018 May and year-to-date financials.
Yeah, I'll make a quick review and try to pare down the report, so I think I've seen.
I like the
So we decided to combine a few reports. And so the key thing, the reason why was the district was $468,000 favorable for the month, purely due to the tax distribution. So everyone in 017 prepaid. And so we received all those funds, so it's a complete timing difference. It's not an additional $468,000 that we're receiving. It's just a matter of timing. So the reports, look off for a while, just because how the payments arrived. And they're not spread out as usual. But if you were to take those out, we're right in line with budget, so don't see really anything out of the ordinary that is of concern in terms of expenses or revenue, just right in line. So unfortunately, we'll do our best to take that out of it, but it's important from the reporting that we put it in and we demonstrate that. it
It's
is
there,
part of it.
but it's
there.
not to be spent.
That is correct, yeah. That will flatten out in another 2-3 months.
2 things.
So other than that, there's really, I mean, it's, we're just right in line with most of our areas.
I'm just curious, when that came in, did they actually identify those funds in this prepayment kind of bucket?
Pretty much what they do is they send you over an email that says you're receiving X amount, and then we call and find out. It's different than when we budgeted it. Usually we space it out according to historical years of when we receive tax receipts. This was just unusual,
Yeah,
so.
well, because you're right, we're $1,600 off when you take that number out, so appreciate you identifying that clarification.
So we're right in line all across the board.
Okay, any other questions on finance?
We did, I mean, Rob, you know, in terms of financials, there were a couple expenses we did have to add and take care of, which was related to this rec center building. And you were going to bring it up in your report, but we had
We had a repair to the fire suppression system. It's a piping system, and right now it's getting a little bit up there in age, and we're starting to develop pinhole leaks in the pipe, and it's rusting from the inside out. So one of the solutions is to slow this rusting of the pipes, or corrosion of the pipes, is to buy a nitrogen injection system, which would essentially pull out the oxygen out of the pipes and replace it with nitrogen to slow the oxidation of the pipes. So that's something we may look at for next year.
but we had some issues here down in this hallway.
Yep, that was right in this hallway.
This is the original building.
So how many years ago did that go back? When these were put in?
70s.
70s?
Well, fire suppression, I don't know that far back.
Yeah.
So we had to make that repair. We had some roof repair, more roof repairs over at the golf clubhouse.
Yes.
How much was that? Was that 30?
We're not done with the roof repairs yet, but it's up to about a $6,000 tab in climbing. So it could go $9,000 to $12,000 in roof repairs.
And we'll see after a rain like this, so it's heading one way, migrating another.
So it's the flat roof section up there?
Yeah, it's over the pro shop, and it goes into both the locker rooms, and it's right where the two roof seams are meeting each other. That's where we'll get the leaks.
Trying to do, just do repairs.
Right.
That's all we're trying to do. So those are unanticipated expenses that we'll see how that already occurred. But other than that, we are in line. So some areas are picking up and paying for those expenses. Correct.
Can you speak up, please?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
That's my report.
Any other questions, anyone?
Ed, did you want to, sorry, Ed.
Sure. Just general from golf, as you see through the April report, overall, the golf club is $1,500 favorable with everything loaded in. Just my anticipation and kind of where I anticipate, we have not gotten final audited numbers from Billy Casper Golf yet on May. We get those in a couple days. But I think we'll get through May right around $5,000 favorable. I think we'll make a little bit of a move in the favorable direction, but May is going to be right around budget, right in line with the plan.
Any other questions, anyone? May I have a motion to approve the financial report as presented? So moved.
Second?
And a roll call, please.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner McHenry,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera,
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace,
Yes.
President Douglas.
Yes. Moving on to purchase cards ratification.
So Commissioner Gordon, you were asking, did it book yet? It booked in our P card at the golf clubhouse, so that's where the difference is.
Okay.
So I was incorrect. So we'll ratify the purchase card payment of $52,405.27.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Commissioner Gordon,
Yes.
Commissioner McHenry,
Yes.
Commissioner Patera,
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace,
Yes.
President Douglas.
Yes. Okay, moving on to unfinished and continuing business. First item is the audit report for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2017.
And so we have Ron Aben here. I don't know if we can move the computer so we can. So Ron met with the Finance Administration and Future Planning Committee on May 31st out there in the community room. And so they made a recommendation to move forward, made some suggestions, and they're incorporated in the audit. So Ron, take it away.
Okay, good evening. I'll just make a couple of comments about the highlights of when we went more in depth with the finance. In the audit report itself, I'm just going to give some page number references, but on page 9 in the introductory section is the certificate of achievement. It's presented and submitted for the third year in a row for the Park District to the Government Finance Officers Association, and received this very prestigious award. It goes through 3 levels of review, and like I make sure all the boards understand that it doesn't give you any thoughts or recommendations or notes towards your financial health, but what it does give you is notes and nuggets to make sure that everything that is required to be disclosed is being done in according to professional standards. So that was for December of 16, and then once the December of 17 report that's in front of you is approved at the board level, it will be submitted to the GFOA as well. Right behind there, on pages 1 and 2 of the audit, on the audit document letterhead, is the independent auditor's report. All units of government are required to have an auditor's opinion. Our opinion is clean or unmodified, which is the highest and the only opinion that you want. And the basis of that opinion is that your financial statements are materially correct based on our auditing procedures. From there, I'm going to touch on a couple of the financial pages. So if you're flipping and you go past the MD&A pages and you just get to page number 5. Page number 5 is a income statement, what we call full accrual accounting for the Park District for the 12 months ended. And on page 5, under this full accrual base of accounting, the third line up from the bottom shows that the Park District had a decrease in their fund balance or their net position of $269,000. And then the bottom number on that page to show the ending net position of the Park District is just under $4.4 million. One of the long discussions we had the day I was here earlier is if you go backwards 10 years and go to 2008, the fund balance was $4.4 million. So over those 10 years, there's been a little ups and a little downs, but 10 years later, your net position at the entity-wide level is very stable at $4.4 million. From there, I'm going to flip to pages 9 and 10 in the audit. These pages are what we call your modified accrual statements. This gets into each of your fund levels, and the numbers I'll point out are in the far right column under the totals. And you can see the third line up from the bottom shows a change in fund balance for the Park District under this modified accrual base of accounting of a decrease of $542,000. And then the bottom number on that page shows the fund balance under this modified accrual base of opinion of $1.4 million. And in the government world, one of the standard processes of what you look at in numbers is that 1.4 million is 21% of operating expenditures. So to know that you have a 21% reserve in the fund balance under the modified accrual. The next page I'm going to flip to is page 42. On page 42 is a disclosure of what we call a subsequent event. This happened after the end of the fiscal year of December 31st, but prior to us issuing our audit opinion. And the Park District got re-rated by Standards & Poor's, and you can see that the rating went down 2 notches And then there's obviously more information internally and more information online about the rating, but just a subsequent event to make sure everybody knows what happened with the rating. And then the last page I want to point out is page 44, and this relates to your IMRF fund. And you can see on page 44 under the 2017 column, the third line up from the bottom, you can see in 2015, the plan was about 86% funded. In 2016, the plan was 87% funded, and the plan at the end of 2017 ended at 97.81% funded. So a very healthy fund level in your IMRF fund. We also discussed the management letter that we issued to the Park District. There were 4 comments in the management letter. They related to a new GASB, some ideas of funds that were over budget, some funds that have negative fund balance, and then some 2 funds that were outside of what the policy of the fund balance level is. So from there, I can take any further questions about the CAFR or about the management letter or about anything related to our audit process.
I already asked all my questions.
What is the average percentage of pension liability coverage, like overall in Park districts?
In the IMRF fund? I would say this is kind of, so our firm does about 60 Park District audits. So I'm going to take those 60 and try to give you what I think is a fair number of an average. I would say in the Park District world, it's probably maybe 90% would be a good guess. The statewide average, when you start throwing in some municipalities and some other units of government, I think the statewide average is probably more in the mid-80s. So you guys are very healthy. That's why I pointed out, because it's a nice, healthy number at 97%.
We're on percentages, which I didn't remember to ask at the last meeting, but you said 21% is our reserve.
That is
Do you have
correct.
a similar concept for the 60 Park districts you audit? Because I didn't ask that question at the meeting. I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, I should ask that question.
That's a good question.
So I'll ultimately bear with me for a second, but I'll get there.
Okay.
So I'll answer your question, but what I tell people is that in our line of business and what we get to do, seeing 60 different park districts, and our firm audits over 200 units of government across the state. So we get to see a lot of stuff. And what we have to do as auditors is always make sure that we can answer questions, but what we try never to do is cross the line of putting ourselves in a position to compromise something that is called independence. And you don't want to cross that line because you have to trust us that this stuff is materially correct. And so when you get into things of what is a fund balance level or what is averages, is you don't want to use me as someone to help do management or think about management tools of where you're at to where you're trying to go.
Okay.
So I always got to make sure I keep my audit hat on. So in the Park District world, some general discussion points and thinking points is almost all park districts of the 60 that we work with is half your revenues are coming from fees for programs and half of your revenues are coming from property taxes. When you talk about property taxes, you're getting those twice a year. So 50% of your revenue source is coming every 6 months when property taxes are distributed. So that means you have to be able to survive a 6-month period over 50% of your revenue sources. In the Park District world, it varies sometimes on what your programs are, but obviously the majority of your program revenue is going to happen in the spring, into the summer, into the fall. And in the winter times, your revenue sources are lower. So the reserves have to be able to cover the difference between your property tax collections and what happens with your fee revenues that you get based on your programs. With that being said, most park districts have policies that are somewhere between 25% at the low end and about 60 to 70. Some will get up to a fund balance policy that says they'll allow up to 75% reserves for the construction of what happens to meet cash flow. So at 21%, you're on the low end. And all of my thinking as an accountant and an auditor becomes your reserves are there to meet things, maybe if you have roof leaks, unexpected expenditures, and to meet the peaks and valleys of cash flow.
Okay.
So I would say,
That's helpful, just to give
yeah,
us.
I would say on our park districts spectrum of the 60 that we work with, 21 is on the low end. I don't think it's to the point yet that it's important to have discussions about it. And if you start going lower than that, I think you're going to run into issues such as things of cash flow.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, anyone?
I just wanted to say thanks to Ron and his staff. Cheryl had a big part, and Rich always has a big part. So I think that, once again, staff was very cooperative, very helpful, helped you get through efficiently, which, thank you. To all staff.
Thanks, Tom.
And we spent an hour at the meeting, the committee did ask a lot of questions. So I think it's a good discussion about the fund balance policy. And that's something, during budget time, it's definitely a discussion we want to get into again. So instead of always just focus on numbers, maybe start looking at that.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
thank you for
Thank you.
all your
Thanks,
work
Ron.
there.
Yes.
And we have a motion to accept the audit report submitted by the district Eschbach and Eman LLP for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2017.
So moved.
Second?
And roll call, please.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner McKendry?
Yes.
Commissioner Patera?
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
President Douglas?
Yes.
For everyone, that audit should go up, not tomorrow, but the next day, up on our website under financial information. So that will be available.
Thank you. Next item, board committee appointments. Ron, do you want to speak to this? We're going to go through it, or?
Really, it's up to the board on how you want to split up your committees, and so
Well,
it's there to
I've been talking
facilitate.
to everybody individually. As we all know, we have a new treasurer. Thank you, Franz, for stepping up. And I think Susan and Corey are going to remain on the beach with George riding along with you. And as far as the committee that Chris is chairing with Franz, and Franz is moving over to financial, and future planning and finance side. Brock has volunteered to move over to
Facilities.
the facilities committee. And Bob will stay on in the future planning and finance and help you learn the ropes of all these finances. So that's really the only change I think we have going here. Any comments at all with that? Anyone add to it? So,
I hope the strategy works perfectly for how it is decided.
yeah, I think, the finances
Somebody doesn't
are
work at the bottom.
complicated here, and
You left me.
you'll have a good tutor here. So, I don't think there's any motions needed for this.
Yes.
Oh, there is?
Yes. We can, as
Well-
stated,
So may I have a motion to accept the change in the committees as described?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner McKendry?
Yes.
Commissioner Patera?
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
President Douglas?
Yes. Okay, moving on to the Go Lake Bluff campaign overview.
so one of the things, staff wanted to do is present this Go Lake Bluff that many communities have been looking at, working with the health department. It started maybe even a few years back when many of the executive directors in Lake County got together and heard a presentation from the county health department. And from there, that morphed into our staffs going through and working with the county, working with other park districts. And so as we built the fitness strategy, one of the things, one of the initiatives was to hook on to this Go Lake Bluff. So talking at the Facilities and Programs Committee, we thought this was an opportunity to share what we're looking to do and a really neat thing that's going to happen on Saturday.
So just wanted to walk through, just to give you an overview. Tim will walk through some of a little bit more of the specifics, but Go Lake Bluff was created from Go Lake County. It was an initiative designed to help every community in Lake County become more healthy and active by enhancing and increasing the shared experience of walking and other forms of active living. The mission for Go Lake County is that Go Lake County is a walking initiative that promotes healthy and active living through programming and events at local park districts. Go enables everyone in Lake County to increase their level of daily physical activity and foster community engagement. When staff was given this mission, when we met with Go Lake County, the two big areas that we were right in the middle of our fitness center strategy meetings, and so the two big areas that we pulled out of this was healthy and active living and community engagement, and that was where we really wanted to hone in on this program. As Ron mentioned, there are 18 partner agencies that are working on local Go campaigns. You probably Go Lake Forest launched a couple weeks ago. They're really focused on walking programs. Go Gurney has been around for a handful of years. There are other programs that are in the kind of startup process. There's a lot of programs launching here in June and July. So with that in mind, Lake Bluff created the Go Lake Bluff mission statement, and so ours is Go Lake Bluff is an initiative of the Park District to engage the community through programming and events that promote healthy lifestyles. So that's pretty much where we really want to kind of brand everything around this whole Go Lake Bluff is if it fits this mission, it fits Go Lake Bluff. One of the things that they were adamant with us about was that they didn't want to come to us with an initiative, Go Lake County and the Lake County Health Department, hey, go create new programming, go out there and create new things. Their mission was, you guys do a lot of great things within your community that promote healthy lifestyles, go brand those things so that we as a county can sit back and say, look, here's all these opportunities that you have to get out of your house, get out and walk. Their focus is a lot on walking, but they also talked a lot about other programs that just engage the community in healthy lifestyles. So around this whole creating the community, our primary focus will be kind of in creating and engaging this Go Lake Bluff community. The idea is that by creating a community of individuals that we believe have an interest in living healthy lifestyles, it'll give us, and the fitness center especially, but the park district in general, a better opportunity to target those individuals and reach out to a bigger section of our community. Selfishly, from the fitness center side of things, we look at the fitness center, we look at the walls of the fitness center, we know that's a barrier for entry for a lot of residents. They just don't come upstairs, they're not aware we're here. So the idea is that we create these Go community events that will kind of break down some of those barriers. It'll get our fitness center out into the community, but it'll also give our community the ability to engage with us without having to go upstairs and enter the fitness center. So that is kind of the segue to why we have, from a fitness center standpoint, really embraced this Go Lake Bluff campaign. I'm going to turn it over, in a second I'm going to turn it over to Tim. But what I want to talk about first is a little bit about the strategic goals. So as we've talked about, there's the 5 kind of core strategic goals of the fitness center strategy plan. We looked at Go when we were developing those 5, and there were 3 that really there was a lot of great correlation. So the first, increase member engagement, community focus, provide high quality and innovative programs and services, and the third being deliver compelling and customized marketing to join and participate. So we felt that Go really met all 3 of those big initiatives, and that is why we've embraced Go so much upstairs and really want to launch with it. The final one is this measurable objective, which was a very lofty, and Tim and I have talked about this at length a lot of times. This is, in my opinion, I know Tim would echo this, this is our biggest measurable objective, which is engaging 50% of the community in a fitness membership and/or program. We estimate about 8,000 residents, 8,500 residents in our park district. We've got about 1,000 fitness members and/or fitness program participants. So we've got to add 3,000 to that number to get to 4,000. And in order for us to get there, we've got to successfully launch Go. And we've really got to get that out in the community and get our community engaging with Go. So we'll look at anyone who kind of participates in a Go program, a Go event, as engaging with the fitness center and accomplishing this goal. But that is where we really feel we need Go in order to get to this measurable objective. Now Tim will take it away on the events and programs.
With this initiative, there's going to be 3 different types of programming that we'll use to meet the mission and goals of the Go Lake Bluff initiative. The first type is community events. Over the coming months, our staff will plan and conduct several different community events, similar to the 5K race and the upcoming community walk that we're going to be doing this Saturday. 3 main objectives for each of these events are to, number 1, engage the entire Lake Bluff community. I think we saw right away when we just initially posted about this community walk, we just had a rash of registrations. It's a free event, a lot of people registered, and as we look at those people that registered, very few of them are fitness center members, so we're already making an impact on talking to community members that don't participate in the fitness center right now. Another objective is to increase awareness about the Go Lake Bluff initiative. I think this is just the kickoff, this event this Saturday. And as we continue to do events, if they're successful, it'll just grow and grow by word of mouth. And then also a third objective, which I feel is one of the most important, is to educate our residents on the value and benefits of a healthy and active lifestyle. And that's what's going to help us grow the fitness center as well as grow this initiative. The second type of programming we're going to create is community programming. Go Lake Bluff program will enhance the identity of the fitness center as the hub of health and wellness resources for the Lake Bluff community, and that's part of our strategy, is to become the hub. So there will be certain programming and services that maybe we can't provide, but we can partner with other businesses in the community to provide them. And this program will help give us that identity, enhance our look in the community as we're able to partner with other businesses. The staff's going to be developing programming that appeals to a broader base of the community. We saw already in the registrations, we've got a lot of families involved in this walk this coming Saturday. So that gives us an idea that possibly if we can create programming that involves more family activities, we can help the fitness center and the Lake Bluff Park District as well. And the key, like Ed said, is that these programs are going to go outside of the fitness center walls. I think that just walking up those stairs can be a barrier to some people. So if we can get out in the community and start developing those relationships with people where we're interacting with them, we're going to break down some of those walls and maybe get them to come up the steps, but we'll still be engaging them in the community. And then the third type of programming will be Park District programming. After creating a Go community through community events and programs, the staff's going to have a greater capability to create Park District programming that meets the needs, the wants, and the expectations of the community. Just by interacting with them, talking with them, we're going to find out more about what they're looking for from us, whether it's fitness or some of the rec department programs or golf or paddle. We're going to find out what they want. We're going to be able to create those programs because we'll have more information, better input. Key to get those, the key to this program is to get those people who are already participating, participate even more. But also, we want to get those people who are not part of the Park District or part of fitness programming to become part of that program. So, in essence, really what this Go Lake Bluff initiative is all about is making Lake Bluff Park District the health and wellness brand within the Lake Bluff community.
So there's a 3-step process that we kind of are tackling. We're calling it internally the GO process. And so it's populate, engage, and then deliver. So populate a GO community through events and programming. So utilizing those community events, community programs in order to populate an active group of individuals who are interested in participating in wellness-related programming, then engage that Go community in events and programs that promote a healthy lifestyle, and finally deliver a compelling message to the Go community to engage with the Park District in a new way or for the first time. Going back to what Tim said, idea is increasing engagement or creating engagement that isn't already there. We genuinely feel that, we execute on this, the big measurable for us on the back end is really that engagement component. So looking at, from a financial piece of it, dollars spent per household, and taking that dollar spent per household and increasing it, but also increasing the number of households that spend above and beyond annual taxpayer dollars. And so anything that we can kind of do that builds that, but we really believe the Go umbrella idea is to build some credibility within the community under the Go umbrella, and then be able to use that credibility within the community to push new programs or existing programs to help boost their participation.
One of the things I wanted to add is back several years when the executive directors met from all those communities, when they were introducing it to all of us, what clicked in my mind was our strategic plan back in 2011. We developed our mission statement that really included creating a healthy environment. And so this was a perfect opportunity back when I heard it a few years ago. But really these two executed what it can look like and what it can do. Everyone was kind of all over the place to understand where it fits in into their own organization. But as we talk about strengthening the spirit of community and what our mission statement says, what the fitness center was doing, it was just a perfect fit. So I don't know if you want to give lastly the numbers on where we're at.
We've got 150 registered as of about 45 minutes ago, maybe a little more than 45 minutes ago. So and hopefully a lot more. I will say this, right to Tim's point, right after we sent out the initial e-blast, we had 80 people sign up within 3 hours. So I think there is an initial yes. And this is all just pre-registration for a free event. We've said you can just come on out and participate the day of. Our idea is that we're going to try to get registration, on-site registration that day for anyone that comes out. We've got the goal to try to get somewhere between 300 and 500 people to engage in this initial event. We feel really confident that we can get to that number by the weekend. Fingers crossed on the weather, but.
And how did you market to, who received an email for this?
So this one, for this community walk, we leveraged our email database. We did do some segmentation. Not everybody in the database got it, but anyone who signed up to receive basically e-news from us received it. All households with children 14 years and under received it, and anyone that's engaged in wellness or fitness related programming received it. So that target audience is about 2,500 emails. We've also posted signs up around town, so we've got a sign at Artesian, there's a sign out front. It was included in our Park District e-newsletter. That does go out to every email that we have, so that was 3,700 recipients on that email. It went on Facebook, so our 900 plus followers, as well as we boosted that post on Facebook as well. So, and that we did within a 10-mile radius of Lake Bluff.
There was also a press release in the North Shore, and Chamber of Commerce was also promoting it.
When we do things like this, does it cost money to send it to everybody, to email? Like, is there a way to email everyone?
Well, it was. So it was the feature article in the e-newsletter, which goes out to every email address that we have. So it was definitely there, but we did a standalone e-blast to a segment of our database. We do a little bit of, we like to work with segments and not just bombard the entire database, because we don't want to end up in a situation where we're getting nicked for spam, and we want to make sure we're sending relevant information. But it was distributed. This event was distributed to everybody in that June Park District e-newsletter.
I mean, I love this whole thing to get people, especially people that haven't been active. But I also think that it's great to target groups. I think it works really well in Lake Bluff. So to target to the Girl Scouts and ask the leaders to talk to their kids about it, the Indian Guides, the Cub Scouts, Girls on the Run, to go through the high school. Like we use the high school science programs to get extra credit to go, you know, pull weeds. This could be a wellness extra credit to participate in a GO program. I mean, there's so many ways that we could even think of who's in the parade and say, listen, you're in the parade, we'd love 5 representatives from your group to go on this walk for community spirit. Because I love this and I think it could really catch on, but I think it's best not just a email. I mean, I think that's great, posters, but when you go after a group and you have the leaders talking to their kids, you could do it through the high school and the coaches, because we've done, you know, marchathon, walkathons for the high school, and they've asked each coach to come with 5 kids. Well, as soon as you get 5 kids, everybody wants to be part of it. So if you start doing it, think like that, think targeting groups, and I think you could really grow this.
I agree, completely agree. I think it's great. I know I'm signed up. Just a few things as you guys were talking, kind of a way to also link, you know, so many people have Fitbits and these Apple Watches, and people are trying to get their steps in, right? And, you know, competing on steps, you know, steps leaderboards, those kinds of things, you know, kind of a Facebook page where all these different, hey, get your steps in by X, Y, and Z, right? It just kind of has legs, and I know we're trying to build our Facebook kind of, you know, Lake, you know, Park District or Health Fitness Center, and I know that it's not as effective, but I'm just kind of wondering, you know, at this event, you know, or at the next, you know, can you get kind of the Facebook way so that people also get notifications that way rather than just always email? And if there's a way to tie in that Fitbit, to use the next brochure, you know, coming out in the fall to kind of say, hey, you know, kind of go Lake Bluff again.
Yeah.
You know, the more you make it kind of the theme, because I don't think there's another competing theme right now.
I agree. Like even if there was like somebody at the farmer's market and you were talking about it and energizing. I mean, you could have kids hire kids. I don't know, lifeguards that would probably love, they can make $10 an hour or whatever, and they have little Go stickers and they hand them out. Kids love stickers, and then all of a sudden they're wearing them, and you tell the kid, listen, the next event is this date. Like there is a way to get the energy going, and I think it could be super fun. Even if there was like along the walk, there were 4 checkpoints, and there was a little piece of paper, and those kids got a sticker, or they got like a little stamp showing that they made it to this checkpoint. Little ways to make it so cool. Or you do it, and at the end of the walk you get a, I don't know, it doesn't even have to be a water bottle. It could be a bottle of water, like an apple or something fun to let them feel like they completed this walk. And there's going to be more walks and more events. And if you complete it, all 4 of them, you get blank. And the other thing is, and I know this is a little different topic, but I keep thinking about it, I would love, Tim, this year, every preschool family that registers, for registering at our preschool, they get a free 1-week pass to upstairs. Because it still kills me when I'm walking out the door and I see these moms leaving the building and they have 2.5 hours and they're not spending 1 hour upstairs. So let's give them an opportunity. I see Lifetime doing it. I see Lake Forest Health and Fitness. It's very easy. I know we do it, but let's give it in your packet this year. 1 week free membership for you and your husband to come visit. And maybe a few of them will stay up there for the whole entire year.
That's a good idea.
This is fun.
Great. We were at the farmer's market on Friday. So just wanted to, yes. So we were at the farmer's market on Friday. Just forgot to mention that. But we will, but yeah, so we were there on Friday. But these are really good ideas to create our community.
Nikki's daughter was one of our best salesperson. Yeah. Walked around there.
Who was?
Nikki's.
Oh, good.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Thank you. It really looks great. Great job, guys. Okay, moving on. Next item is 2018 Golf Club Stretch Goal.
I'll start off first and I'll turn it over to Ed. So a few months ago, Commissioner Patera, Commissioner Mossbarger, and I met talking about a stretch goal and how do we look at some potential potential efficiencies, as well as trying to push Billy Casper Golf to generating more revenue and trying to achieve goals. And so we put together a report we presented at their meeting end of May 30th, I believe. And so they discussed it a little bit, and then Commissioner Patera and Commissioner Mossberger and I met again, and we said, what's the best way to present this to the full board so they fully understand, and especially if there are some potential cuts, so in staffing or things like that, we felt it was important that there was some discussion at the board level related to that, so we're not just doing things as a committee, it's not just singly focused. Technically, the board has to approve anything related if there's some type of cuts or reduction of some source in the force. So that's why we felt it was important to go through it briefly with you today, see what questions you have. And again, we're not changing the budget. This is a stretch goal so that we can show some reporting as well when we meet with committee. Brock, you're on it. The Finance Committee will evaluate it and to see, are we able to achieve things differently by doing some things differently. So, Ed, why don't you go through some of the details?
So just real quick, so to Ron's point on the overview, $100,000 in revenue, $50,000 in expenses was the ask. We worked with Billy Casper Golf on both sides of it. So we'll start with the revenues because I think it's the simplest and most clean cut area of them. So 78,000 and change of the $100,000 is going to come from green fees and carts. Green fee and cart revenue. I mean, that's primarily what our revenue stream is for the entire year. Certainly from this point moving forward, it's pretty much all we sell. So if we're going to achieve a $100,000 growth or exceed budget by $100,000, it'll definitely be from that area. We did it across 5 total areas though. It was green fee, cart fees, range balls, merchandise, and instruction. We did incorporate the recent license agreement that we signed with the golf practice into this, so that's a $15,000 add in revenue that we did not have budgeted, so that is incorporated in this stretch goal. On the expense side of things, it's a little bit more complex from a high level view. The reductions included $34,600 in golf maintenance, $7,400 from golf administration, and $8,000 from Billy Casper. I'll just walk through real quick a couple of the key line items. So the $8,000 from Billy Casper Golf is all in labor. This is labor savings that we've already realized through April of 2018. So we feel very comfortable that we can hold on labor here moving forward. So we've got that $8,000. We've eliminated $10,000 in contractual services for maintenance. That's tree removal. It's primarily trees that are on the border of the property. We've pretty much eliminated and removed all of the trees that are dead and or very diseased that are on the actual property. These are dead trees around the perimeter of the property. $6,000 in ground supplies, which impacts really just top dressing of greens. We're going to do it a little less frequently. May result in less consistent conditions and slower green speeds, but it probably won't be terribly noticeable. $4,000 in parts for mowing equipment. This is what we've kind of identified as these wild card areas, and I'll say that in one sense. So we've got, at the end of the memo, you'll see $11,900 in other miscellaneous reductions. One of those items is we took $500 out of the budget that goes towards maintenance and repair of our range picker. As of Friday, our range picker blew up on us, so we had to rebuild the engine. That's a $650 expense. So that's in the stretch goal, we eliminated that $500, but there's $650 that goes back in. So there's a lot of these things that just, something breaks, we're going to replace it, and we're just not going to let greens die because we cut $4,000 out of green mowing equipment repairs. So there's a few of these areas, but we felt we could make some across the board cuts and just tighten our belts and do our best to try to achieve these numbers come the end of the year. And then really the only other one I'd really point out is is the range ground supplies. There's a $2,500 budget. We're just going to incorporate those in the overall ground supplies budget for the golf course maintenance. We've done this in previous years where we've had revenues not come in where we were expecting, and we wanted to make some reductions in expenses, and we've done this, Rob and I've done this before, where we've just incorporated those expenses in the golf maintenance budget. The only thing I do want to walk through the last part is the $9,000 in possible reductions to golf maintenance employees. So essentially what this is speeding up the layoff process. So we start the layoff process around the first week of October, where we progressively lay off employees as we go through November. That $9,000 would be expediting that process, essentially trimming that staff and getting that staff down quicker, essentially down to one seasonal employee at the end of October as opposed to the end of November. The main impact on that is November will be primarily just like 1 day a week of cutting greens, 1 day a week of mowing fairways. Everything's just going to be there's just not going to be a lot of guys to do a lot of projects out on the golf course. So overall, if we do achieve the $100,000 of increased revenue and the $50,000 of expense reductions, it would produce an overall shortfall of $170,554. That does include $208,512 worth of debt service. Our recommendation, or staff's recommendation, and I think Ron kind of touched upon this, is to still utilize obviously the 2018 budget as our end-all be-all, our Bible per se, but then to utilize the stretch goal in these areas is really a direction for us to potentially find savings, and definitely an area for us to push revenues where we can push revenues.
Any comments, anyone? It's very thorough.
Just wanted to say, so the committee level, Chris and I reviewed this in advance, we discussed with Ron and so forth. We wanted to, put a motion forward to get the board to agree with the stretch goal of getting an extra $100,000 in revenue and going through the process of eliminating $50,000 in expense. And we wanted to make sure that we had the board's support, and we wanted to ask if the board had any concerns with that or any other comments or suggestions.
Well, I have one question. Ed, you mentioned the top dressing of greens. I'm just trying, it's a very subjective territory here. I mean, I guess it's for Rob too, as far as, the expectation of conditions, and as we do this, it'll probably be very subtle, I would think, but is the quality going to be, I guess we're talking about we're running at a silver level right now.
Right.
We used to be gold, we're running at silver.
We're kind of sticking our toe in the bronze territory.
Okay.
At times, sometimes we'll be able to maintain that silver level, and other places we're going to have to be in the bronze category. The area that concerns me a little bit more than slowing down on the top dressing is losing that staff in November. Sometimes in November it can be really nice weather and we're still getting quite a bit of play, especially in the early November, and there's going to be a dramatic line in the sand. It's normal golf course maintenance and then it's not. But on the other hand, revenue wise, that's the end of the year and we're looking at, the overall revenue is maybe 1 or 2% of the revenue as we're wrapping up the year. Happens in November.
I appreciate what we're trying to do here. Don't take me wrong. I'm just, it's a balance. It's a tricky balance.
I agree. We've consistently gotten our highest ratings on golf course maintenance and greens condition.
Yes.
And so that is the one thing we need to be really careful of, because if we lose that, that's a competitive advantage that we have on the golf course. So,
I mean, I still admire the root depth of those greens. I mean, you've accomplished things with these greens that none of these other municipal courses have. And that's what brings people back for that second visit from a golf.now, let's say. So it's just a tricky balance. It's very subjective, I know. So that there's no science to this. It's really going to be kind of trusting your instincts as we kind of straddle this.
Is there an opportunity to put, contingency on where we're at? I mean, if all of a sudden September, October, and we're just crushing it with people and things like that, is that an opportunity for us to come back to you? I mean, the last thing we want to do is go to the staff now and say, hey, this is the end of the time, and maybe all of a sudden revenues are 120,000 or something, and I don't know. That's another thought around this.
Well, that's what I mean. I see the
Still
intent,
create emotion,
but it's a balance. It's a balance that it's a hard one to manage. I know. So,
It is. It's,
I would think a lot of the players, when they come out in November, might not be quite as sensitive. I can only speak for myself, but I might think that the golf course is not going to be the way it was in July as far as speed of greens and some things like that. I think there's going to be some of that naturally, so it might not be scrutinized to the same point. I think it'll be great if we're open to the weather permits again, like it's, does a lot of years, but there's also that part of it, I don't want to see anything, become less than it normally is, but in the same breath, November golf is, I'm not so sure people are so fired up about getting their scores in for handicaps. It might be a little more social in November. That's what I thought.
Well, during off season, I admit, I do take my dogs out, and I'm chasing the geese off this golf course with them. So maybe we can figure out how to introduce that, so at least we can reduce the amount of calling cards they leave behind. Because that's one thing you see near the end of the season, is a lot of that. So that, or maybe the greenskeeper needs a dog to go with them out there.
no, I'm good on the dogs.
But no, I appreciate what the committee has been doing here.
And the committee wasn't prescriptive as to how to get to the goal. So Ron still has, obviously, the discretion. We're not locking him in into, how to go about that. But we thought it was worth a try, as we're trying to get towards also kind of a plan where 2019, would be in certain condition to make it,
I guess
more appealing.
all I'm saying is this is a very left brain activity here, and I'm talking about the right side of the brain now. It's that whole subjective side, and just that's the balance. So, but I have no trouble with what we're targeting here.
well, the right brain too is going to be on the creative marketing side and the things we're going to have to do to try to drive the revenues. I'm frankly a lot more concerned about the revenue number than I'm the expense number. I mean, we're already 13% behind that number right now, as we sit here today. So we not only have to get to that stretch, we got to overcome a 13% deficit already as we sit here today. So, so we need some good creative marketing, and we need some good weather. So.
Well, and let's face it though, the nicest weather is never in April, May anymore. I mean, August and October is like the new summer. Like if we could shift, I mean, that's the best weather. It's beautiful in November. So I think you should have it built in a contingency talk to Rob and you guys discuss it. Because it should be beautiful to play in September and October. You can't even play in April and May hardly. It's so rainy and cold. So I would keep it definitely playable and as nice as you can afford to keep it.
The key would be continuing to give financial reports to the Facilities and Programs Committee to say where we're at. But I think what this does is it gives, I think Commissioner Patera brought up a great point, which is gives me flexibility if we do need to make, to achieve the goal of the 50,000, to go make cuts and where. So it's not line by line by line. So it at least gives me the flexibility to work with the team.
So
So
that Greens is not where you would want the cuts to come from.
So,
The stretch goal was incorporated in the April report that you received, so that last column on the right does incorporate this 100,000 in revenue and the $50,000 in expense, and appropriately so, as we budgeted revenues to come in, so it's all in correlation with how it goes, as well as that weekly report that we provide to the Facility and Programs Committee. We've already incorporated on the revenue side that $100,000 in there.
So that was also to communicate very strongly to the Casper Golf.
right.
You know, kind of, this is a very important year, like pull all the stops to pull in that revenue. So if you've got any ideas, now is the time, right? This is the year. So to go along with that and setting a stretch goal, thought they would go well. And
I do want to commend Rob on that we've put a lot of time on this to really take a look at where some things that we can potentially meet with Billy Casper Golf and try to achieve some more revenue. So we spent quite a bit of time on this. So,
Okay, thank you very much on that. So, any more comments? Could I have a motion to accept the 2018 stretch goal as presented and be incorporated into all financial reporting on the golf club?
so moved.
Second. Let's begin with Brock. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner McKendry?
Yes.
Commissioner Patera? Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
President Douglas?
Yes. Okay, moving on to new business. Ordinance 2018-D, prevailing wage approval.
This is standard that's required by law, and so we're required to pay prevailing wage rates on projects. So, for example, Rob and I met with Cliff Miller today, talking about the beach, and we have to factor in any potential costs are related to pay prevailing wage. So this is something that we're required to do, and so even if we have a small project over here, or a small project, we still have to pay prevailing wage.
There isn't any kind of a threshold, anything below a certain amount?
There's no.
Flat out union rates on it?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Illinois. So, any questions?
Do we know what that will mean to us?
No.
Do we know what it is?
We build that into our
Is it an
budgets.
increase? Is it a decrease?
Well, it certainly, in general terms, increases the cost of projects for public bodies across the state. It's union wages.
I would have expected that. The
That's
question is, how much?
Well,
30%
20
estimated.
to 30%.
probably 20 to 30%.
No, I mean versus what we had maybe
Oh, prior
budgeted
year.
No,
prior
no,
to
no.
what we were
No,
thinking.
You had to do this every year.
We
forever.
budgeted.
So it doesn't
What's this
change.
budget?
No change.
Yeah, 20-30% from non-union.
Right.
That's-
But where you do bring up a great point is we have our capital improvements
Right.
outlined for the next 5 years.
Uh-huh.
You know these costs are rising, so we've built in escalation into our capital plan, but sometimes we realize that it's just gonna cost more. We end up bidding the project out and it costs us more. So we do the best we can in those estimates in the capital.
Even if it wasn't prevailing wage, the chances are it's going to be.
Well, they're all prevailing, yeah.
Right.
So it's pretty much a lot of the capital improvements we have are prevailing.
And the bottom reality is wages are going up, materials are going up.
Absolutely.
This is just what it is. So, and we have prevailing wage factor, so. Any other questions? May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2018-D, prevailing wage rates to be paid to laborers, mechanics, and other workers performing construction of public works for the Lake Bluff Park District.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gordon? Commissioner McHenry?
Yes.
Commissioner Patera?
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
President Douglas?
Yes. Moving on, written communications, any comments and correspondences?
I thought that was an interesting community comment that we received, a note regarding the handrail that we have down at the beach. I mean, there's a lot more we need to do with the handrail, but just to be able to make it somewhat accessible, but we have a long way to go with that, but that was a nice note. And everything else on file, all the articles.
Yeah, a friend of mine sent me this article on municipal golf courses across the country, so hopefully you found that helpful. And we're not alone. This is a nationwide challenge that we're up against, and so hopefully you found that informative. Any other comments at all on this? We'll move on then to verbal communications, staff.
Yeah, I'll go first. It's not necessarily to respond, but to bring up about OSLAD and through IAPD. So working with, there's a new process through OSLAD, and OSLAD requires to go through a series of extensive steps to apply through the Illinois, OSLAD is through the Illinois Department of Natural Resources.
And that's a grant.
It's a grant.
Right, so
So-
just
yeah, thank you.
for the,
So it's a grant that we received for the pool and the beach and previously in 2014. And every year, we do our best to apply for grants, and we do. They haven't funded grants for the last 2-3 years. It is now in the budget to fund, but you have to go through a series of steps. So just recently, I submitted, this was on Thursday, submitted all the necessary paperwork, but it takes, we were ahead of the game from when we applied in 2014, and we've done some other things with the state. And so we have a 30-day document that we had to send over to them, and I sent that over immediately. They need a variety of federal IDs and Brad Street and things like that, type criteria. So that's a new process. It's just a cumbersome process, but we finished it. So we'll get our report back, and they basically have to, the state signs off and says, okay, you are financially viable, then you have to take it to the next step. Then you will go through a process, and they haven't opened it up necessarily yet, where then you apply for specific things under the OSLAD grant. And so, and that's about a year, that, well, what it takes, depends on what IDNR tells us. But typically what happens is how we did it in 2014, is you submit paperwork, you go through a grading system, that takes 4 to 5 months, and then you go down and you make a presentation down to the state, and then you'll see if you get awarded. So they haven't been funding the OSLAD, and it just came back within this last budget. So we have to go through the paperwork first, and then at that point in time, that's a discussion between the board on what grants you want to go for, because they usually are matching grants, most of them. They have these park grants that were 100% funded. Those are pretty hard to come by these days. But so anyway, so to answer the question is, we've submitted all our paperwork. So we also had a request from Dr. Fisher, who's in the audience, that requesting our packets ahead of time, and so the village does it. I would have to do more research. Our protocol has been over the years, a lot of these documents are draft documents, and sometimes we can make changes to the documents, change them up, you make recommendations. So I told Deb I would bring it up at the board meeting, and so whether, how you would like me to research or determine next steps on that. And continue to research.
Can you do that and then give us some feedback?
I
on
can
what
find
you're-
out who's doing it all and get back to you and go through a process.
The question really is, I think, is having draft documents that have not been approved, you know.
Some do and some don't, so, might want to look at our memos, the way we write them differently, I'm not too sure, so so why don't I just see who does and who doesn't? So at least start there, and then.
Yeah, I mean, there's no need to reinvent the wheel, so let's, yes.
And how they do it, what they include, and
Yeah, how does the village do their packets? You know? So we don't get ourselves out ahead of ourselves on some topic that, we don't want to create misinformation either.
Right.
So yeah, let's, if you don't mind, do a little gathering on that, just so we can get some comparables on how other agencies handle it.
okay.
Yeah, can I ask a question about the grants? Is there a limit to the amount of grants you can apply for the OSLAT? So could you put in like a request for 4 different areas and just to like roll the dice like a numbers game to see if we have a better chance of getting maybe 2 versus only doing 2 and getting 1 or getting none? And then also, can you choose not to take the grant money if we don't have the matching funds?
I'll answer the last question. If you do that, you probably won't get a grant again.
Okay. And can you use?
Yeah, hold on.
Just from the process with the IDNR on that is if you're awarded a grant and you turn it down, normally they will put you on a list where you can't apply for 3 years. And that's been the practice in the past. Can't say it's still the same, but yeah, they take it very seriously. If you apply for a grant, you have to first adopt a resolution saying that you're going to accept the money if you're awarded the grant. So.
Okay, and can you use grant money that you've already received to pay for a future project? Different grant money? If you have money?
You're using a different grant as match for that grant.
Yeah.
We have to look at the rules for both grants before, but you could, like, many grants will say you can't displace money that way. So it depends on the rules for both of those grants, if you're working to do that.
Okay.
Your question in terms of number of times, I'd have to look into that, which I can. It's just cost, you have to bring in architects, you have to,
Yeah, they require.
and they're
master
grading
plans.
these, and they're grading these, so.
So you graded a grant writer.
So you're retaining a
And more.
grant writer.
What's that?
And more,
Competing
you need
against
design, you need
Right,
specs, you
right.
need vision, you need
Okay.
But that's
more
why-
than just an idea that hopefully you get funded.
That's why, we've been doing some of this master planning like with the beach. We said that we're building a framework in which we can then potentially attach a grant application in some segment of that.
Which we did, we applied for a grant for the beach before, and again, everything's changed, so I'm just getting caught up to speed with if they've changed their criteria, but our beach didn't meet the criteria, so we lost points, strangely enough. So it was frustrating.
So they changed the rules.
But well, they didn't change the rules, it's just their form that they were using back in 2014, you're awarded points for certain things. So I don't know if that's changed, they're taking you through a process right now. So as soon as I get more information, obviously.
Okay.
And what I found that I didn't know was this whole matching piece. So based on our current situation, our ability to even match a grant
Very limited.
is very
I know.
limited. Like, we just don't have that ability. So it's challenging.
So, but we'll continue, I mean, there are great opportunities, and we've experienced that positive success in 2014. So we'll continue to look at every avenue. It's part of our strategic plan to look at grants, grow new revenue, so it's absolutely an initiative in there. So. All right.
Okay, so in my board report, I talk about a little bit of our special events at the pool. This year at the pool, we are trying out some different things. Our hours of operation are slightly a little different compared to last year. We wanted to favor those that purchased memberships. So we open up a little bit earlier than we normally have. And we've actually seen an uptick in our young families purchasing those memberships with the top pool, because the top pool opens during the weekdays at 10 a.m. Or 10:30 and 10 a.m. on the weekends. So we've right now we're on track for meeting our budget for pool memberships. Today was the first day of camp. I'm excited to say that we did see a significant increase. I'm still tallying the participation for session 1. So we're just in session 1. We're not there yet. We still have quite a few sessions. However, we are showing a $19,000 ahead of last year and on track for budget as well with our camp revenue. We do have some camps that are down and some camps that are up. One of our camps that is down this year is our 2-year-old camp, as well as Teen Traveler and Adventure Camp during first session. Session 2, Teen Traveler and Adventure Camp actually are almost completely full. So it could be a timing of vacation, it could be a number of different things. 2 of our camps, we're really excited that one's actually completely full. We can't take any more kids. Camp Kickahow. One of our preschool teachers, Sheila Thompson, runs that camp, and we are at max. That's a good thing. We don't want to take any more. We don't want to water down that program. It's at a really good number. The other camp is the athletic camp for session 1. We actually were up last year on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We had 28 kids, and this year we have 45.
Wow.
So we had a nice increase with the athletic camp. We did a lot of promotion with that camp. We even changed camp directors, and we're really excited. So we're starting off on the right foot with our camps, and hopefully that will continue to build on throughout the summer. We need to bring in another $42,000 to meet our goal, or to meet budget. I feel confident that we're going to hit budget. Any questions?
No, but can we clone Miss Thompson, because she's the best. And everyone wants her.
We would love to.
And
Miss
Miss
Thompson.
Kelly, maybe a couple of them.
They do a great job. They do a great job.
Yeah, I was late with getting Ashley into the issue, and I'm out. So, that's how popular.
Yeah.
I know.
Ashton's not happy with me right now.
It was, everyone wanted it this year.
Yeah.
Great. Well, that's great to hear. The strength of the camps, that's great.
With all Jim's good news, I'm gonna bring us back down to reality.
God, right.
Here we go. First thing I want to start off is to tell everybody that our batting cage at Artesian Park blew down the other day, so we're going to be in the process of rebuilding that. We're going to try to get some insurance money out of that.
I told Rob to deliver that bad news right away.
But we are experiencing a lot of breakdowns, with older trucks, and it's getting to the point where, the repairs to the trucks is almost more than the truck is worth. So we're battling, do we fix it or do we junk it? Do we fix it or do we junk it type of thing. Pool vacuum machines that are problematic. Ed told you about the picker on the golf course that kind of blew up. And that's not a big deal. We can rebuild the engine, but the timing of it was just horrible because it was before Father's Day weekend, which is typically our busiest weekend. And then we also had the free range ball event that was right on top of it. And we're like, oh no, our picker just blew up. So this budgeting season, we're going to have to really look at some of these capital expenses and try to tackle them.
Yeah, so Rob's truck, Micah and his team needs a truck to travel around picking up supplies, Home Depot, you name it, all over the town, all our parts. Both of them went down at the same time. We got Rob's up and going. He's using his own vehicle, dealing with that. We have to talk to the finance committee and figure out what to do because we are struggling. So we're trying to make them go until we make, to the end of the year, so we can make bigger decisions here. So with capital, but it's frustrating stuff.
That's it. That's all the good news.
Yeah. Next.
Can we get that to the finance committee sooner than later then?
Yeah.
I don't know when you
Yeah.
guys scheduled the week, but.
We were waiting to see who was chosen.
I, just because you touched on Artesian Park, I just want to make a comment to the board that I happened to be there 3 days in the same week, and I counted middle schoolers on the playground at Artesian Park, our new park, and 3 days I was there. Now, this was the last 2 weeks of school. There were over 20 middle schoolers playing on the equipment, and that's usually a general time after school when a kid likes to be on their phone. And to think that we built the school park that a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, they were playing fish out of the water, they were on the tire swing, they were on so many, they were way up high, they were low, they were on top of the equipment. So you guys should check it out sometime, because it is really fun to see 2-year-olds and 14-year-olds on the same equipment.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I know, I'm gonna have to show you, one day we're gonna run a slide
Yeah.
of like all the activity going on there, it's so fun to see.
Well, I'm gonna jump on that too, because as long as we're at this point, I came over Wednesday and we go through a lot of minutia on the board. We look at a lot of paper, we do a lot of meetings. But Wednesday was a spectacular day. I walked in on Ron and Jim doing a staff session with 50, 60 really bright, excited young people here. One of the golf course tee sheets were full, the pool had people all over the place. There were kids running all over the place in the lobby here, and I said to him, I called Ron, and I said to him, I said, now that's why we do all this, and sometimes we forget that.
Yeah.
And so it made me feel really good to see all the activity, the parking lot full. It was nice. So thank you for bringing that up, because it spurred me to say the same thing, so.
Okay, and the path that we pushed for, that was $12,500 that we pushed for to connect from Artesian tennis courts to the other path, that is so used. And it was so cute, because I was with my 20-year-old biking, and she's like, whoever thought of this is just so smart. This was such a great path, and I'm like, hello?
Put a toll booth in?
Yeah, I like to get a little credit for that. So it's so sweet. It's totally used. They cut to Sheridan Road, they cut to the village, it's after school, it's a busy little great path that we all pushed for. And we cut out, remember, some bushes and land and stone. We put in that extra $12,000 piece of equipment. It's used. And I'm so psyched that we did it. So thank you. Thank you, all of you.
So just to jump on really great participation, the Night on the Range event on Friday, we estimate we had about 200 people who attended that event. So thanks to the Community Golf Association getting the word out, and Billy Casper and their staff for running a really good event, as well as the golf practice. They brought Golfzilla out, and it was just a really cool, and we couldn't have asked for a better night. It was just a great night out there. We've got the walk again. Just want to remind on Saturday, we'd love to have Franz, and we've got you signed up. I'd love to get you pre-registration, but you can sign up the day of the event and come on out. 11:30, the walk will start 11:45 at Artesian. Fingers crossed the weather holds out. And then the last part is an update on a item that was in your packet. The website was to launch last Friday. It has started launching today. We are having some issues with it populating, unfortunately, locally. So it will come up, the new website will come up on your mobile device, but desktop devices in the Chicagoland area for right now are pulling the old site. We are troubleshooting our way around that, and hopefully come tomorrow, we will have it populated everywhere on all devices. But yeah, just a couple little snafus here before we launch, but we wanted to make sure we launched the site the right way, and we just didn't rush it out. But once it gets launched, we'll send an e-blast out to our database and let everybody know.
I do have a funny story about the night on the range. They had this Golfzilla, Golfzilla, and so Ashton brought him over there, and he was on the range. He's like, "What's this?" And went over there, and the gentleman had his car parked in the back, and he was in charge of Golfzilla, and kids were missing Golfzilla. I actually thought that was the coolest thing.
No, like kidding me.
Yeah, well, yeah, and they have these little plastic things, but he still talks about it to this day, this Golfzilla, and hitting it. But they were great. They were great instruction, helping him out. He had an actual lesson the next day, and so it was. He had a really good time, and we ate at the barbecue place. So it's kind of funny. I want to be careful I don't say if we hit his car.
I wish we made that. It sounds like it was awesome.
So I just pulled it up.
Mhm.
It looks great.
Awesome. Yeah.
Wow.
We just want to get it up on the desktop site.
Huge.
I know. I love that too. I haven't
It's
registered,
great.
but I'm coming.
Going, wow.
Perfect.
So many.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because I saw some great
Yeah, if you go, if you're on your mobile device and you go on the website, now it's completely different.
Okay.
I think it was on Instagram, I saw a video, or was it Facebook, I can't remember, of the golf.
Instagram, we did a story, we did a video and a picture story, and we
Yeah,
did some Facebook posts.
Seeing that was great as far as the social media.
Mhm.
And it was a panorama of the range with all the activity going on and Golfzilla. So, but, you know, the social media component, that was really fun to see that pop up on Instagram. So,
We're trying to get
no, it's showing.
that stuff out.
What is Golfzilla?
That's that.
Whose idea was Golfzilla?
Oh,
It's the golf practice, they actually own it, so that company that licenses part of our range from us, they own it. They use it for their programming, their youth programming down in Evanston. They run some programs out of Canal Shores, which is a really kind of quirky municipal facility that is in Evanston, Wilmette. But yeah, so they use it for their programming down there, so they deflated it. It's a big inflatable, things like
Oh,
It
that.
has
like
holes like
that.
the mouth, so what you're
Yeah.
trying to do is get it up in the air.
Yes,
and-
Yeah.
I love that.
It's a great way to
That's
engage
fun
kids.
stuff for kids.
Yeah.
What are those? I would do it.
Okay, any other staff reports here?
None.
Okay, well, any committee, I guess, well, the committees have been reshuffled to a degree. I don't know if there are any
Yeah,
committee reports. yet.
Well, and since George is here, we've been working on the Nolan project. And so one of the things that we've been working on is the whole pavement area as well as the added new equipment. And so we met with homeowner today, not homeowner, a business, as we need to bring water a little bit different way, so they're very open to that, so we'll have to do an agreement. We said that we would build a simple agreement, stormwater. And so we hope to go out to bid, when for that?
End of July.
End of July. So this is a project that goes back 2014, that was really part of the referendum, 2014, and we said that we would do a project, so hopefully the bid's coming good. So we are working with a planner, Gary Biskowski, who we're able to bring in from a different district, who's retired. It would cost us $150 an hour to bring in an architect. It's paying a third of that. So, and he's been very helpful walking through. He's terrific. So he can only work so many hours, so we're just able to utilize expertise like that because we need some assistance. So that's probably a big thing, as well as the coastal engineering firm. George and I met with the coastal engineering firm. So we'll start getting some preliminary estimates. I believe it's July. And it's just estimates, and then what we'll do is we'll sit down and make sure the chair, McKendry, is a part of that, so that we can start outlining, is this what we were thinking, are they on scope? But I do have some good news, that I remember Commissioner Mossberger saying, can you reach out to North Shore Water Reclamation District? And so I reached out to them, and Brian Dorn, who I've worked very well with. And so he talked with some of his board members about absorbing some of the cost of the plan, so I have to submit a letter to them, and we're looking at between $4,000 and $8,000, I think, we come from some of the costs. So again, trying to reduce costs is a good idea by Mr. Mossberger. So all the little things like that go a long way.
Great.
Thanks, George.
Any commissioner comments on anything? I really don't have anything to report. So, I guess, would someone like to take us into executive session? Who would like to volunteer that?
I will.
You got it?
I'll
You
volunteer.
got the words?
Oh, this is the reading piece?
Yeah, this is the,
Oh, that's a trick
this is the
question.
novel.
This is the, where is it at?
Was that?
Okay.
Yeah. We did.
Now we're back in session. Would you like to make the first motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution 2018A, which is releasing of closed session minutes.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner McKendry?
Yes.
Commissioner Patera?
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace? President Douglas?
Yes. And I'd like to have someone make a motion to ratify the compensation package for Executive Director Ron Salsky as posted on the website.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
You moved him. You said that,
Yes.
right? Okay. Commissioner Gordon?
Yes.
Commissioner McKendry?
Yes.
Commissioner Patera? Commissioner Wallace?
Yep.
President Douglas?
Yes. And last but not least, may I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none? We're done. Thank you.
9:10.